How to find a roof over your head when your family life has crumbled and the state is supposed to step in. Elizabeth was just 13 when she says she was forced to leave home. She lived for a while with a variety of friends and extended family, but at 15 sought help from the local authority, ending up living in hostels for the next couple of years.
I didn't feel safe at all, but simply because the hostel would get raided because some of the young men that was living there would take drugs or they would sell drugs. And it's difficult when you're doing an apprenticeship and you have to get up in the morning when 4 o'clock in the morning you just had the police at your door and I need to be up for 7.
Elizabeth says the authorities' approach was that once she had somewhere to sleep, her case was closed.
Because there was a roof over my head, I didn't need to be seen to move anywhere because realistically it was safe. Although I didn't feel safe being inside because I had a roof over my head, to them it was safe, it was good enough.
Research by the children's charity Quorum Voice suggests hers is not an isolated case. It claims though the law makes clear such vulnerable children must be placed in safe accommodation and their other needs properly assessed, in too many cases this is simply not being done. The picture painted is a stark one. Some of the most vulnerable children left homeless or in dangerous, unsuitable accommodation expected to fend for themselves. The local authorities legally bound to protect them, clearly failing to do so.
Last year we worked with over 200 children who had been homeless and who had not been properly helped by local authorities.
And what is the reality of that situation for those young people?
The reality is they'll either be sleeping on the streets or they'll be doing what they call sofa surfing, which in so many cases is sleeping in a car, riding the night buses, seeing if they can persuade the police to let them sleep in a cell, spending it in a hospital in A&E overnight, or even sometimes in drug dens or sleeping with strangers just to find somewhere to sleep.
And it's not a problem confined to any one place. Solicitor James Betts deals with young people who challenge the way the authorities have dealt with their case.
I've done this work in London and now I'm based in Manchester, and I'm seeing the same kind of problems kind of all across the country, really. So it's certainly not isolated to one local authority. I think the law is kind of pretty much right. It's just the fact it isn't being followed, so there hasn't been any legal change. I don't necessarily think there needs to be. What there needs to be is a cultural change to actually follow what the law says.
Would you describe the way you ended up living as a healthy way of living, as a safe way of living?
No, not at all, simply because it was very difficult. A lot of the time I would call in sick to my apprenticeship because I would be going to different local authorities or to Citizen Advice Bureau to find out advice.
In a statement this evening, the local government association said protecting the most vulnerable children was one of council's most important roles, but acknowledged that finding suitable accommodation was a real challenge, with a shortage of housing and 40% cuts to their budget this Parliament. The Department for Education said for any homeless young person to be left without support was simply unacceptable. They said they're providing councils with £30 million to come up with new ways to make sure vulnerable children are never left without a home or the help they need to live.